Welcome back to Bronco Mania, you all. Today, we're going to be doing something for the interior here, which I think you'll like and appreciate. Um, it's basically just getting ready to change. This is a Badlands, so it had that orange interior, or orange accents, I should say. So, changed them out to red as part of a big overall change in the Bronco. But let's take a look at what we've done so far. So, obviously I changed out the door handles, all those, changed all these little tabs here. Also got the little gear shift changer changed out. And then there in the corner you can see I started changing out the dash to white. I don't know if you can see that or not. But here, let's just go around there. Starting to change this dash to white right here. So this is the pain in the ass part. So I'll be doing that, but did change this side over here. So we are getting this changed over a little bit. Sooner or later, these seats will be changed out to more of a white type of seat to match the dash. But anyway, but biggest thing we're doing is today we're going to change out this right here. So these are the original little bands on these pockets, I guess you're called, and they have these little nets on them. And obviously this one's already coming apart. I can put my finger in there. So they're just crap the way they are. I know a lot of places, a lot of people are selling, you know, the bigger metal ones that you can take on and put on, but I like to take my doors off and I like to put them in the back sometimes. I do have the covers for my doors so that I can pull them off real easy. And I don't want to add any depth to this at all, or should I say increase the width of it, because it will not, it's a real tight fit if you put them in the back. So there's no way you can do that. Even if you put them in the door bags, it's a really tight fit. So I'm just going to go ahead and change these out. So, so let me show you on that part what I'm doing. So let me just reach over here. So this is the old one, and it's really fairly weak. I mean, you can just down. I mean, these things just don't hold up at all. So what we're doing is I'm changing them with this thicker, much thicker, high performance cord. And this stuff is tough. I mean, it's hard to stretch out. So let me see if I can get you a look at the side core here. Let's see here. Here we go. So this is the difference. So one is just filled up with a rubber core. The other one's very tiny. So this is going to be a much better piece to hold this together. And that's part of why this gets torn out all the way, is because this thing just stretches way too far out and it doesn't hold tight. So I've already done one door, all right, and it's held up. I've had this on for almost a year just to test it out, and it's held up pretty good. So the bottom's not coming out, and I've had quite a bit of stuff in there. So we're going to be changing that out today. I'm going to show you how I did it. To get started, the first thing you have to do is take all these Bronco bolts off here, which is pretty easy. There's 6 bolts there. I believe they're T30s. Actually, you can also use, if you don't have a T30, like I'm going to use this little DeWalt here with a little T30 bit, but you can also use, go look in your Bronco kit, and you can also use this one. On here, they're calling it a P30, all right? But they're the same size, so it'll work. Looks pretty close, so we're gonna go with it because I don't feel like using the Bronco. I don't feel like using this right now, so I want to do something a little quicker. So we're gonna use it. So first thing you're gonna have to do is gonna take all these off, and it's pretty easy. They come out pretty easily, so if you haven't already done this. So take that off, and then you're gonna have to rebuild this before we put the new one on. And then it should just slide off. So just take it from the bottom there, pull it out, and that's pretty much it. So it's pretty simple. All right, and so let's go to the next step here. Let me put it on a little bench and set up for that. All right, so next what you're going to do is you're actually going to take this apart, and it's really easy. It just pulls apart. So there's nothing to it at all. It's just a piece of plastic. But we're going to keep this plastic. We're going to kind of rebuild it. And I'll put all the parts and hardware and companies and stuff in a QR code. I'll try to put it down in the description too. But the QR code will have the better of the two do this. So it looks like these are just pressed in like that. I don't know if you guys can see it. So, and then they break loose after a bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to rebuild this with a hot glue gun. And we're going to take this off here. So I'm going to have to take this little stitch off and take that little stitch off, and then it should just come out, okay? All right, so we're going to try and just cut this off right here. So I'm just going to try to cut that off. There it is. There we go. So it just pops off there. I'll do the other side here, same thing. And you could probably go from the other side and do it too. There you are. All right. And that'll just slide off, okay? Now, next thing we're going to do is we are going to re-glue this on. So I'm going to sand this off a little bit. We'll probably scrape it up, but then we'll sand it off, because this is actually, the way they do this is this, it's like a heat press on. We don't have that. The only thing we're going to be able to do is re-glue it on. And so we're just going to do that. But first thing, I'm going to scrape all that off, whatever I have left. This looks like a part. I may not even scrape that off. Actually, I'm not. I'm going to leave that alone. But I am going to scrape this up a little bit just to give a little spot for the glue to go ahead and attach to, instead of the slippery stuff there. So a little sandpaper will do. All right, so I got a piece of 120, just a piece I had laying around. And I'm just going to just rough this up a little bit with the sandpaper. So we can fix this, and so it'll stick better. Yeah, that'd be it. These are all on pretty good. So just these, this one here, these right here came loose, so we'll re-glue that. All right, let me go get a glue gun. So I'm just using this little Gorilla Glue stick with just plain hot glue gun glue. I'd rather use the black material hot glue. It's black, but I have to buy a whole new glue gun for it, and I just don't want to do that. So I'm just going to use this. It should be all right. So what you're going to do is just stick you a little bit of hot glue there. And then I'm just using this little tool here that I use for fix this over here too. It should stick pretty quick. Now, what I like to do is take this one here and move it past this hole right here, because it will prevent it from pulling off next time. So really we want to go all the way down there and you won't notice it when it's on. So that's how I'm going to do it. Get this all glued back on over here. You almost need like a little wood stick or something to put that on. I can't even remember what I used last time, but I'm going to do this one last piece right here and put it on, and then that'll be it. I think I'm going to try a metal screwdriver. This plastic was kind of sticking, and this is, you know, obviously an interior tool, so it's just sticking a little bit too much. So let's do one last little bit right here. There, that's better. Use a screwdriver. Make sure you don't cover that hole up. You just want it to be below it. All right, that should do it. I have to hold this one down up here. And that should be pretty much it. I'm just going to let it dry for a little bit. Or not dry, but cool down. All right. Now that it's dry right here, what we're going to do is we're going to take some Gorilla Glue and we're going to just put a thin or a layer that goes right across the bottom here. We're not going to go up the tops, just along the bottom, and make sure we can cover these holes. And what that's going to do is just add a layer of extra. So we're just going to go like across the bottom like that, and then we'll just cut it flush. But that's going to add a little bit of extra protection there so it doesn't pop out. So yeah, let's just push this down right there, and we'll just cut it right along the bottom there. And you can use a razor blade, a scissors, whatever. I have no idea how sharp this is. Let's see if that comes apart. There we go. Well, still a little bit around there. So I can get the other side off. Yep. There we go. All right. And that's just going to give us a nice layer of protection. And what I'm going to do is I'll poke little holes right here, and that also will prevent this from pulling up. Okay, so we just want to poke some holes down in here. Just make those big enough. for it to fit over. And if I have to force it, I'll force it. But anyway, that's all you really do for this portion of this netted material. Okay, I'll bring the main piece back up here. I don't know if you guys can see that. So we're just bringing the main piece back up and we're going to fit it over it. So there's two sides to this. So yeah. You just got to push it all over. So it's the side with the Ford logo up. Okay, so then when you're in there, it's going to look like that. All right. Now what we got to do is we got to get our bungee cord to go from here to there. Okay, the original piece was just at about 12 inches, okay? But we don't want to do that, and here's why. Because the original bungee was attached to the plastic here on the top and on that side up there, which is longer, but that's also inferior because it pulls on this plastic and there's nothing really to hold on to it. What we're going to do is we're going to use these little things, and I'm going to give you a QR code on screen and you'll see all the directions and all the pieces and parts you need and the prices. But we're going to actually use those to go around this little, I don't know what you want to call this, placement plastic, so that it pulls against that instead of the soft plastic. And we have one for each side. So what we actually want to do, I don't know if you can see it, but we have to measure from there all the way in to all the way in the other side. So this is going to be longer than 12 inches. So let's just see what this is. Should be, it might go just a little bit shorter, but it should be right at about, let's see here, about 13 and a half. So about 13 and a half inches long. Yeah, 13 and a half inches long for the new bungee cord, okay? And again, I'm going to put this in the QR code where I got it from, the size and the color and all that, all right? And they have all different kind of colors. So if you want to do it for another color of your vehicle, you probably get pretty close to matching it. So what we have to do is cut this 13 and a half inches long. And all I'm going to do is just cut the other half, mark it, and I'm just going to cut it with a razor blade. All right, so I got that all cut on both sides. All I did was use just a simple razor blade. It's kind of dull, so it will cut really easy. But now what I want you to do is use these two parts that I have put in the QR code, and I just got these at Lowe's. And I want you to drill a hole in it. That's just a 1/8 inch bit, okay? And so right there in the center. It drills really easy, and then once you get done with that, we're going to go ahead and use some tight bond on the next part of it. But let me get this other hole drilled. I just drilled the one side, so let me do that real quick and we'll get to the next step. Okay, so I got them both drilled, and all I really did was I used a little clamp that down on the counter, and I just drilled it super fast and easy. Now I want you to go ahead and take some of this weld bond, or whatever you might have that's really good glue, and we're going to stick some in here, and then we're going to go ahead and twist these pieces in, okay? So, see if I can get some in there. Just about that much, not too bad. Really come in there, it should come out the top there, okay? Just wipe that off. And then we want to make sure, by the way, that both of your sides, so when you lay this on the table, you want to make sure it's smooth where it sets. So when you put this other side on over on the other side, you're not twisting this bungee cord up, so it's just laying flat. So the best way to kind of do that is just stick one side in there, and then you can see where you got to lay it. So I know I got to put it in like that, so it's nice and even. All right. So again, just stick some in there. Doesn't have to be a lot. And then just watch it. You're twisting it in there to get it nice. And you can still move it around when this is in here, so it's not a big deal. All right. Yep, and they're sitting nice and flat up there. Now the next thing, and I can't find my punch, so what I'm gonna use is a nail. And I'm gonna take and just hammer this down so it kind of like squishes it a little bit. And then I'm going to take the rest of this and I'm squishing it in a vise. So you'll see the end, but just pound that in there. And all it's going to do is just give it a little bit of something where it can't back off. The bungee cord won't back off. But if you have a punch, it's probably going to work a lot better, but I cannot find my punch, so I'm just going to do that, okay? All right, so that's what it looks like after it's punched. And then I smashed it. Now, actually, I didn't actually even use the vise. I just went down on my garage floor, took a hammer and squished it. The flatter, the better, okay? Because there's a plastic piece and it'll make it pop up. So, and actually, if you want to go one step farther, there's a little, when you go all the way through, you can see there's a little hole there. You could probably even just drill all the way through this and, you know, put some type of screw or something in there, but this will be fine. This will hold good. It's strong. So, yeah, it's not going to be any problem. Okay, so into the next step. I don't even know why I even thought of it, but you could have probably just took the glue gun, glued it in there, probably been better than the glue I just used, and then, you know, punched it down with a punch to get that metal to dig in there, and then flattened it. Probably been better than the glue. So probably hot glue it. Again, I would use the black material glue rather than just your basic Gorilla Glue, but seems to work for me. I do have another part that I used on the other door, and it was made out of plastic. And it's basically what it is. And I'll put it in the description and I'll put it in the QR code. But basically what it's for is like tie downs and stuff like that for bungee cord. So it works really good, but it's really thick, and I had to go in there and I had to take a grinding wheel and grind it real flat, and it's not as flat as this. So it's a little bit, it holds, it pushes up a little bit on this outer piece right here on the top. But, so one other thing, so you're gonna go ahead and put this in here now. So it's gonna be the flat side up, okay? Because you want this part that's kind of got a bump, I don't know if you can see that, to go in and down. But there's a little tiny little like hole right here, and you gotta actually make that a little bit bigger. So let's just stick it on there. So this is kind of what it looks like. Let's see if I can see that in there. But there's this little notch. It's right here. And we got to make that a little bit bigger, okay? The next step, and I've already done one of these sides, just use like a little Dremel drill. You could probably even use, this is just a grinding stone. You could probably even use like a drill bit if you don't have one of these, like an oversized drill bit. But you just go in here, and we've got to make this a little bit bigger right here. So I'm just going to go in here, and this is an old Dremel drill, so it's noisy. Close. A little more. Running out of battery. And that should be it. Let's see here. Should look just right. There you go. Looks just right there. See that or not? All it's doing is making it flush. All right. So now that those are on, now go ahead and put the netting back on. Again, it's got the little Ford logo upright. All right, so it looks pretty good. So that's what I'm looking for. Now we got to just weave this thing through the netting. So I just lift the one side up and start weaving through it from one side. Pull it in, pull it out on each one till you get to the end. And that's pretty much it. Nothing to it. And there you have it. And we have to put it back into the car. Pretty simple. Okay, so our piece is ready to go. And basically we're just gonna put it right back on. Pretty easy to do. You're just gonna line up your holes on the bottom there. Just hand tighten these real quick. I'm sorry, I'm in a hurry because my battery is running out of my mics. So we're trying to get her down here. Uh-oh, I'm missing a screw. Where'd that go? Oh, there it is. Okay. And then we're just going to tighten them up and just make sure when you do the very tops that they're sitting straight. I kind of go every other. And last one up here. And there you have it. Nice and strong. Matches the rest of it. So there you go. But the way, see how this is right now? It's like just like it is from the factory. It's tight against there. So that's with these clips. If you go over here and you use the other clips I'm going to show you, they're easier to put on. You don't have to glue them or nothing. They're made for these cables, but it's just a little bit high. That's even when I grinded those down quite a bit. But I'll put them in there anyway because they are real easy. They just snap and clip. So, but other than that, everybody, I appreciate y'all watching if you stuck it out. But I would appreciate it if you like and subscribe. It actually does kind of help. But until next time, everybody, Bronco Mania.